I think if a couple understands each other and understands how each other is wired, then I think a lot of assumptions will get taken away, right? Because as humans, we love to assign motives behind behavior, right? Like someone cuts you off on the freeway, it's like, well, that guy's a jerk, but we have no idea what's actually going on for that person. Someone's delivering in the back seat, or their kid has a medical emergency, we have no idea. But we love to assign motives to behavior. And I think when we understand how someone's wired, it helps shift that narrative and can really rescue a relationship.
What if you're on the other side of that? What if you're the person that has ADHD and perhaps the other person doesn't understand, but you don't want to get a free pass, as you mentioned. You want to still make sure you're doing your best to do that. What are some tips that perhaps have worked for you in your relationships? Perhaps writing things down. Like, what are some hacks that that have helped?
Well, it's all about, as far as like attention goes, it's all about externalizing, right? So if my wife tells me to run to the grocery store and get a bunch of stuff, I will say, please text it to me. Because right. If it's just verbal, and if I don't write it down, I'll try, and I'll try to create memory games in my brain. But inevitably when I'm at the grocery store, something else is going to strike my attention. And even if I'm really trying, I might forget. But if I have the text, great. It's externalized, it's there, I'll reference it. And then if I forget, then something's, then I really messed up. With impulse control, naming an impulse when you have it is really, really powerful. So for example, if I am in an argument with someone and I have an urge to say something, right? If in my mind, I tell myself, I'm having an impulse to call this person a blah, 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 just naming that, and you don't have to say it out loud, but naming it internally activates the prefrontal cortex. And that second buys you enough time to just pause before reacting, right? So building in pausing strategies is so important in ADHD. And the other thing is, if we know as a person with ADHD that our attention is easily split and we're easily distracted, then if someone is talking to us, we need to be making eye contact. We need to be repeating back what they're saying, right? And really ensuring that we've understood so that the information gets in. A lot of people with ADHD think they have dementia because they forget stuff all the time. But it's not that they have dementia, it's that the information never got in the first place. So that's an example of, an easy strategy, just repeating back, ensuring you understand, and then moving forward.
To be honest, all the things that you just mentioned are problems that I feel so many people have, including myself, where sometimes it's just in one, because you're just distracted.
Yes.
Right? It's not just at the grocery store. You have notifications that are coming in that constantly just places your focus there rather than what you just heard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And life, can get really complicated really fast. You've got a couple kids. I mentioned I have 2 kids, 7-year-old boy and a 4-year-old boy, and they're amazing and they require a lot of attention. And so if you're trying to have a conversation with your spouse and your kids need something and the notifications are going off and you've got a work obligation, more than ever, we have to become really good at compartmentalizing and shifting and trying to eliminate distractions whenever possible. So after 5 o'clock, I dock my phone, because I'll get to it. Maybe I'll check it again after the kids go to sleep to make sure I haven't missed anything super important. But otherwise, I know that if it's in front of me, my attention is going to be split and I might as well not be there.
Yeah. I want to go back to what you talked about based on the demands that we have. Ultimately, it's about blood flow. Certain things will increase blood flow, and that's great for the brain. Certain things that will decrease blood flow. Can we go and break down what are some of those key highest ROI things that will increase blood flow that we can do, whether it's diet or certain tools, and then we can go into what are some of those things that are killing blood flow?
Yeah. I always start with the basics, you know, and the basics, we all know these things, but I think to know them on a deep level helps us execute them more effectively. And those things are sleep, exercise, and nutrition. Sleep is probably the most powerful lifestyle factor that can positively or negatively impact ADHD symptoms. So people with ADHD generally already have a hard time with sleep for a number of reasons. Maybe it's a stimulant that they're treated with that makes it hard to fall asleep. A lot of times it's procrastination, right? Like I didn't get to stuff and now it's late at night and sometimes it's getting hyper-focused into something and you stay up late, like you're scrolling and before you realize it's 2 a.m. And then other times it's anxiety, right? Like the ADHD brain gets to the end of the day and it hasn't accomplished stuff. And now all of that has built and your brain feels like it's racing and it's time to go to bed, right? But then one night of bad sleep, one night drops executive functioning the next day by 30%.
Wow.
So, but then what happens to that brain that next day, right? Even less effective. And so sleep the next night's going to be, so good sleep is paramount for all people, but especially, you know, in this case for ADHD. And what I'll tell people is just basic tips to start: wake up the same time every day, get sun on your face, right? Only be in bed if you're sleeping or having sex, right? No other reasons. Don't hang out in bed. And shut down electronic screens an hour before bed. The light that comes in from a screen is very confusing to our brain. Our brain hasn't evolved yet to be able to distinguish light from a screen and light from the sun. So you can fall asleep on a screen, but you won't get into deep sleep. And that's the problem, right? Deep sleep is where the brain is doing things like cleaning itself. And if it doesn't have the opportunity to go through that cleaning cycle, we accumulate garbage and our brain's not going to work as well.
Why the sunlight in the morning?
So sunlight in the morning, as light goes into your eyes, the photons are going to travel and activate the pineal gland, which will suppress melatonin production. And when you wake up and getting light in the morning sets your circadian rhythm for the next 24 hours. So when you wake up is actually more important than when you go to bed, because when you wake up is going to basically have when you go to bed fall into place if you're consistent enough. Yeah.
So getting it earlier would tell your body
Yep.
within the next 16 hours or so, you'll be tired and you're ready to go to bed.
Exactly.
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
And this can be a problem with teenagers because during school, a teenager is having to wake up much earlier than their biological clock would like. And then on the weekend, they want to make up for it. So they sleep in. But then what happens on Monday, right? They go to bed later on Sunday night. They have to wake up early on Monday. And then the whole week starts off no good. So that rule is hardest to implement with teenagers. But it's still a good idea to try to have the wake up time be at least roughly similar. Like what you don't want is 6 a.m. on weekdays, 2 p.m. on the weekend or something. So sleep, that's a big one. Nutrition is also huge. I have had patients who I've made a number of recommendations for managing their ADHD, and I've had a handful of cases where they just started with the first recommendation, which was around nutrition, and then saw such significant symptom improvement that they didn't really progress to the other things in the treatment plan.
Wow.
And the types of foods that have a detrimental effect on ADHD, really you can think of it as anything that increases inflammation in the body. The way inflammation works, the way the brain processes inflammation is any part of the brain that was receiving low blood flow, it'll go lower. And any region that is overactive will be made even more active. So it takes whatever we're dealing with and basically pushes it more to the extreme. And the main types of foods that are inflammatory, sugar, especially refined sugar, candies, pastries, stuff kids love, right? Processed foods, also stuff kids love, and adults. It's the stuff that's easy, it's quick, it's accessible, it's fast food, it's things that come in boxes or bags, ingredients where the ingredient list is like a paragraph and you can't pronounce 75% of it. That stuff ramps up inflammation. And then I'll often do a deeper dive with patients because many of us have food sensitivities that we might not even be fully aware of. Like for me, I have a gluten sensitivity, so I'm gluten-free. If I eat gluten, especially now that I don't eat it, if I did, I'll feel like I'm in a brain fog for like 2 or 3 days, which I didn't know before because I was just in a brain fog all the time and didn't realize it. So gluten is a common one for some people, dairy, right? But that's going to be case by case.